We're going to talk about some more find and replace options, other options. We're going to look for specific formatting. We're going to define the search scope to be not only the worksheet but the workbook. We can change the sequence of the search, which is by default by rows, to by columns. And we have three choices for the look in option, where we can either look in the formulas or the values or even the comments that are contained within the worksheet or workbook. We've got our schedule of find and replace options, or the find options in this case, listed in column B. We're going to look at the bottom half of the schedule, beginning with format. I've got some content in columns C and D that will stand in for either search criteria or search results, and I've got content in columns F to J that will stand in for search results. So to start with, we're going to pull up the Find and Replace dialog box by pressing Control F. And I want to point out something. I changed some defaults to be something other than the default. It says within Workbook, the default is Sheets. I'm matching the case and matching the entire cell contents. And I'm looking in values as opposed to the default, which is formulas. Whenever you utilize this Find and Replace dialog box and you change some of the settings, remember that Excel will retain those settings the next time that you launch the dialog box. It doesn't reset the settings back to the default. So it's just something to be aware of. So I'm going to launch the dialog box again, Control F, and now I've reestablished all the default settings. I'll move it up a little bit. The next thing we want to do is look for formatting. Now, we can look for formatting as a setting as part of the criteria. So we can look for content by putting something in the Find What field, along with some formatting, or we can just look for formatting itself, which is what we're going to do. In order to set this up, there's two ways to set up the formatting criteria. Left-click the drop-down arrow, and we're going to do the second one first. Choose Format from Cell. If I left-click that, the dialog box disappears, and I can left-click a cell, and I get a preview on the dialog box of the bold italicized font with the blue fill, which is exactly equal to the formatting in the cell that I just selected. Now that I have my search criteria established, I'm going to left-click Find All. It takes some time for Excel to work through the entire worksheet. You can see up in the formula bar that it's doing just that, and we'll get a result here in a couple of seconds. And there it is. We've got two hits. We've got the cell that I pulled the formatting from when I set up the search criteria, and we have the cell F20 that has the same formatting established, even though there's no content, so you can't tell that it's bold and italicized. But since we got the match, we see that it is a match. Now, Excel's default is to conduct the search within the sheet. And that'll only happen if you only have one cell selected. If I select a range on the sheet and I initiate the search again, I'll get the same cells as a match, of course, but it happened a whole lot quicker than it did the first time. So the default is the sheet unless you have a range selected on the sheet, and then the scope of the search is narrowed down to the range on the sheet. The other option is to select the entire workbook. And I won't do that because it took quite a while for Excel to find the formatting match on the worksheet. I'm assuming it's going to take a lot longer to find it on the workbook. So I need to clear the formatting from the search criteria, but I also need to show you the second way to set up the formatting in the search criteria, and that is to left-click Format, and you get the Find Format dialog box where you can select various options and establish the criteria for your search. Okay, and the preview shows an update for those options I just selected. To clear the formatting from the search criteria altogether, left-click the drop-down menu and left-click Clear Find Format. Now, the scope is still set up to search within the workbook, and instead of finding formatting, I'm going to find the word region. Left-click Find All. Pull this down so we can see the search results. I have a number of different worksheets that the search results show up on. This list of the search results is also a way to navigate to each one of the search results. I can left click through every single one of them. It'll take me to the appropriate worksheet and the cell on that worksheet where we have the match. The next option is to search by rows or by columns. Depending upon how your data is laid out and how much data you have, it may be better to do one or the other. The default is by rows. The other choice, like I said, is by columns. I'm going to leave by rows. The last search option we have is to look in either the formulas, the values, or comments. I've got a formula in cell C29, and arrowing down, I also have the same formula in C30. If we want Excel to find the content in C29, we need to have it look in the formula. I'll put a 5 there. Change this back to the worksheet instead of the workbook. Left click Find All. And one of the cells that we got a hit on was where we had our formula. It's looking in the formula. It also found it here because it's got the same formula. If I want to find the result of the formula, and I'm looking for 11, which is what the formula produced, I need to look in values and change the criteria to 11. Left click Find All, and I have two hits. Both of them are the formula, 5 plus 6. The last option is to search the comments. I've got a comment in C31. I hover over that, you can see the comment. I'm going to left click and make E for the active cell and search for anything that's in that comment box, which my name is in the comment box. We're going to search within the sheet by rows, look in comments instead of formulas. Left click Find All, and we are taken to that cell that has the comment. This can be fairly useful if you have a lot of comments in a large workbook and you're looking for some phraseology that you know exists in some comment somewhere in the workbook. So we went over some more search options. We found that we could specify formatting in the search option, and that includes the formatting on its own or formatting in conjunction with whatever other search criteria you may establish. We could define the search scope to be not only the sheet, but a range on that sheet by selecting a range, and they can be non-contiguous ranges as well. Or we can expand the scope to the entire workbook. We can also search by rows or by columns, or we can look in the formulas, which is what would be displayed on the formula bar, or we can look in the values, which is what will be displayed on the worksheet, or we can even look in the content of comments that are spread throughout the worksheet or the workbook, depending upon the scope that we establish for our criteria.